MBA worth it? To me, it is a big yes. I will evaluate whether MBA is worth it based on my own experience from a couple perspectives. 1, changing jobs, increasing your salary. 3, getting the knowledge. 4, getting the network. And I will also talk about the number 1 biggest value I personally took from the MBA experience at the end of this video, which is something I don't see a lot of people talk about. So let's dive in. I am an international student doing an MBA at Duke University. I had an engineering background and I am going into management consulting firm, BCG. Frankly, everyone's MBA experience is different. So take everything I'm gonna say with a grain of salt. Number 1, increasing your salary. Let me give you some numbers first. Those are the official numbers provided by Duke University. At the end of a 2-year MBA program, 98% of the students will get a full-time job. And on average, they get paid $180K US dollars per year. And of course, this is the US market that we're talking about. So if you are doing a European or Asian MBA and you're gonna work in Europe or Asia, typically salaries may be 10 to 20% lower. Again, this is a huge generalization. So let's do some really quick math here. Your tuition is about $100,000 per year. So 2 years, it will be $200,000. And this will include your tuition, your living cost, and so on. But on average, people get $60,000 worth of scholarship. So your real, again, this number varies a lot. Some people may even get a free ride. Some people may not get as much scholarship as well. So again, this is an average number. So let's just work with that for a second. Your actual out-of-pocket payment is about $140K for 2 years. There's another cost you need to think about, which is opportunity cost, because you are not drawing salaries for the 2 years. So let's assume that you earn $70K per year before you do your MBA. You sort of lose $140K opportunity cost. So all in all, your total investment in MBA is $280K. But you are getting paid $180K post MBA, which means that investment can be recouped in about 2 years after tax. To me, 2 years is not a terribly long timeline to me. Again, my personal opinion. And nowadays, many people take a loan to do the MBA, which means you don't need to have that kind of money available to you before you do an MBA. But of course, there are many personal factors you need to consider. So if you are already a software engineer, you may be earning quite a bit, maybe $100,000 per year already before the MBA, then your math will look a little bit different from what I just provided. But another thing you want to think about is how fast your salary will increase after MBA. So let's take management consulting as an example. There's a saying, you can expect to 10x your salary in 10 years. So you may also want to think about, if you stay in your current job, will your salary increase at that kind of rate? Or will your salary grow relatively steadily? Therefore, I will give increasing salary matrix of doing an MBA a 4-star. I think it's worth it, especially if you are going into management consulting or investment banking industries, where your salaries can typically increase relatively faster. But of course, numbers can only go so far. So let's talk about more qualitative stuff. The second most common reason to do an MBA is that people want to change jobs. A lot of people want to do an MBA because they were stuck, at least they feel stuck in their current job, and they don't see a future if they just continue on that trajectory. And some people want to pivot into a different industry, some people want to do a totally different job. Those are all good reasons to think about an MBA. for me, I really wanted to do management consulting. And for management consulting and investment banking, for those two industries, if you want to get into those two industries, having an MBA is much easier. But if you want to pivot into a tech industry, or for example, you want to become a product manager, having an MBA will still be easier, but the difference wouldn't be that dramatic. Meaning that if you have a solid technical background, and if you can prove that you have pretty good business acumen, or even better, you have your own business experience, and I think you can pivot into tech industry or being a product manager. Having said that, I don't know a ton about product management in the tech industry, so my best advice will be talking to the people who are already working in the firms that you want to work at. To summarize, if you really want to get into management consulting or investment banking, that having an MBA is pretty much necessary. And since I really wanted management consulting, I will give the reason of changing jobs a 4-star recommendation as well. Number 3, let's move on to networking. Contrary to what most people think, which is the biggest value of an MBA is the network, I tend to be neutral about this, and I will give you the two sides of the story. On one hand, there's no doubt that having a network is important, because if you are looking for a new job and you are reaching out to people already working in a firm, you can always say, hey, we both go to Duke, we both go to Fuqua, and then chances are they will pay a little bit more attention to you as compared to somebody who they have no affiliation with. And also, if you are thinking of starting your own company, then the affiliation will also help. You can reach out to Duke alums that are working in BCs and other institutes, and chances are, again, they will probably pay more attention to you, at least initially. But the reason I am neutral to it is that the benefit only goes so far. And if you don't have the affiliation, but you still want to reach out to people for your business or for getting a new job, you can still do so. Maybe you can find another common ground, or you can write a really good cold email, which I did before. And if you guys are interested in how to write effective cold emails to get response, even from luminaries, let me know. I'm happy to make a video about that. So what I'm saying is there's definitely benefit to having a network, because there is a readily available affiliation factor that you can talk about. However, I think that can be achieved without an MBA as well, by gaining other skills. So that is how I would evaluate whether MBA is worth it from that perspective, is whether you could have gotten the same thing without an MBA. And to me, probably yes. Therefore, I'm gonna give the value of networking a 3-star. Number 4, the knowledge. Is knowledge worth it? Well, personally, I think knowledge is an important part of the MBA value. So before doing my MBA, I did a number of different jobs. I was a business analyst, I was a business development person, I was part of a startup, I even did fundraising and stuff like that. However, there are 2 things I was always thinking about. One is this the right way of doing it? Because I never had the business training. I had no idea whether there's a better way of doing it, a more structured way of thinking. I've always had that question. And number 2 is I lacked the confidence. Again, because I was not trained systematically. I just did not know if what I was doing was good enough. After MBA, I would say the knowledge, first of all, it's very practical. MBA itself gives you a very good foundation, or whatever you need to pick up when you are actually working, you can pick it up easily on the job. And to me, that's very valuable. And also, I was talking to Goldman Sachs senior partner the other day, and then she was saying the best thing that we have right now is dedicated time to just study. Because she has no time. She just doesn't have the time to learn anything new, to gain any new knowledge. So yeah, a lot of people are saying, yeah, you can get the knowledge online, maybe even for free. But the real question is whether you will follow that curriculum consistently. And I would say maybe for the majority of people, without this dedicated 2 years, it will be hard to follow that curriculum consistently. I'm gonna give the value of gaining the business knowledge a 4-star. Now, here comes the number one biggest value I personally get out of MBA. And that is fast tracking my self-discovery. Before I did my MBA, I spent about 2 years thinking about what I should do for the next 3 to 5 or even 10 years. I pretty much did every personality test you can find, some of them even bordering spirituality. And I bugged all my mentors with the same questions over and over again. What do you think I'm good at? What do you think I should do for the rest of my life? I asked those questions a lot. And third, I also read pretty much every article about how to find your passion I can find. I also observed myself like an object under a microscope, because, by the way, this is one of the most insightful questions to finding your passion is, what are you doing on Saturday afternoons? Because what you do on Saturday afternoons is who you naturally are. So long story short, I did all that. I had a little bit of idea of what I might be good at and what I may be interested in doing before doing the MBA. And my answer at the time was that I wanted to do management consulting. So after talking to a lot of friends, they all tell me, well, like I said before, it's much easier to do management consulting with an MBA. That's why I did it. But then I realized once I got into the school, I have learned so much within the first 2 months of the MBA than I have ever did in those 2 years. I learned so much about myself, about my strength, about what I like to do very, very quickly. And the biggest reason for that is because you were thrown into a pool of reasonably talented people. So you can very quickly see what are the things that you do relatively easily, whereas they can't really do, and what are things they can do but you can't really do. So you see that kind of things very, very clearly and very, very quickly. So before MBA, I was told, and I sort of had a sense that, okay, I may be good at public speaking, but I had no idea whether it was 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, or 9 out of 10. I had no idea. But after being in school, after sort of comparing yourself with other people, not in a negative way, but just you see naturally that I can quantify my skill very quickly for myself. And I will know for sure this is my strength and this is not. And to me, that is incredibly important, because your whole life, and my personal opinion is that I should know my strengths very early on so that I can spend the rest of my life building skills or doing things I am already good at. So I just build up all my strength. And another thing I've learned about myself is what I'm truly passionate about. So of course, all the soul searching, all the reading articles and observing myself before MBA was also very helpful. But I think when you are doing MBA, with the amount of experience you get, also with the amount of knowledge you have to absorb in a very short amount of time, you will very quickly realize what you like and what you don't. I was thinking whether I would be interested in being a product manager, but after hearing a lot of lunch and learn sessions from people who are doing product management job, in other tech companies, I very quickly arrived at the conclusion that this is probably not my number one interest. And also, when you have a little bit downtime during your MBA, I think what you are truly passionate about, the idea of that will come back to you again and again. I also realized that I'm really interested in communication when I was in school, and that's why I started this channel about 2 months ago. So had I been working, I would never had the time to think about this question, nor would I ever have the clarity to this question. And I probably would have never started this channel. I would probably not even be talking to you guys. But of course, this is not to say that you have figured it out for your life. It's still possible that what you like will evolve or maybe even change after a couple years after MBA. But at least for me, I have saved years wasting my life working on the things I wasn't sure if I would be interested in. And that value is immense. So that pretty much concludes my video for today, whether MBA is worth it. Yeah, so like I said, everyone's MBA experience is different, and this is just my experience. So if you guys have more questions, please leave a comment and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.